Ty, we're live. Ty. We are live.
Beautiful. It is college football week 12. We're going to get started here on the show. Hit record in a moment. If you are joining us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell all your friends.
Exactly right.
That's simple. That's all I got.
Okay.
All right, let's do it, Dan. You ready?
Yes.
Let's count it down in 3, in 2. College football week 12?
Yeah, man. It flew by. This year flew by. It really did.
Week 12?
Yeah.
God, we're getting old. Dan
Is
Rubenstein,
that true?
How are you, my friend?
I'm great, Ty. This is a very exciting week for me because, look, it's the penultimate week of the regular season, right? That's one of our favorite words here on the show, penultimate.
Correct.
One of our favorite words, and it means second to last. We have rivalry week sort of next weekend because there are a number of traditional huge rivalries occurring this weekend. And so I always feel like this is, when you're watching a TV show, it's always the second to last episode. It's not the finale. The second to last episode that's hot, right? That brings that fire. Fire like 7 inches away from the midday sun.
Uh-oh.
Welcome to Santana Saturday, Ty. Welcome. You know it.
I love that 8-bit. That's good
course.
stuff,
It's
man.
good.
Getting off on a hot note here. College football week 12. We're going to run you through all of the action, build out our quads, talk about our big dogs. I'll give you my picks. You know you're here for my picks and all sorts of fun along the way. Yeah, Santana Saturday. Give us a call as you are watching on our Reverb line at 855-VERBAL-3. We will, of course, include our favorites as part of the recap episode. Also going out to verballers.com if you want ad-free episodes, full Monday episodes, and the ability to play in our Run the Board game this week. You get the $100 credit to our good friends over at Pristine Auction. Awesome website. We're also going to throw in a cameo from Dean Blandino.
Of course.
A
Whether you want it or
value.
not. Whether you want it or not.
A $40 value. We offered it to people on the live stream we did a week ago, and nobody claimed it. So it's still out there, and we've got the money in the budget. So whoever wins the pick-a pool.
Look, I would have gone Gene Steratore if he were available, but I don't think he's on Cameo.
I don't think he's on. I mean, he's barely on TV. I don't know if he's on Cameo.
I love Gene, though.
Dean Blandino plus the $100 credit to our good friends over at pristineauction.com. And of course, thank you for downloading, for listening, for supporting the show. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you hit follow. We would love it if you would leave us a rating or a review, Dan.
That would be wonderful. I subscribe to that line of thinking, as I also subscribe to the Solid Verbal. Where are we going?
Shall we start with our big dogs?
Let's.
You know the way this works, Dan Rubenstein. Got 4 big games at the top. We got a bunch of quads throughout the course of the day that we'll talk our way through over the next 45 minutes to an hour or so. We will, of course, start at high noon on ABC. It is the Louisville Cardinals on the road at the Miami Hurricanes, Dan.
Louisville. Yeah.
You need like a dedicated app to track this Miami quarterback situation right now. I don't know if they built it yet.
Just like when you have, like, didn't the USA Today hire a Taylor Swift specific reporter? There should be a Miami quarterback situation correspondent.
Whether it's Emory Williams or TVD. So Emory Williams got the start a week ago. It made news. He's a freshman. He got the start over TVD. TVD's been struggling. But then Emory Williams got hurt. They turned it back over to TVD. TVD threw his customary interception. That's what he does.
Yep.
It's almost like an olive branch from
and
TVD.
It was, God, it was such a dud of an interception,
It was
too.
really bad.
There was a guy right in front of him open and just trying to do everything in one throw.
Does anyone out there who is not a Miami fan feel good about picking Miami in this game, Dan? And I ask you as I believe a non-Miami fan.
I think Miami fans are the ones holding the Louisville flags at the front of the line right now. Nobody knows Miami football like Miami fans. And a week after giving Florida State a decent enough fight, which they did do, I think there's a letdown potential here. I saw it was buy one, get two tickets for Coral Gables residents in this one. The underlying issues in this game do not necessarily favor Miami. So Louisville has looked pretty mortal, right? They've lost to, I think, arguably the most embarrassing team in the conference, all things considered, in Pitt. They struggled with Virginia. They're not an overwhelming team right now. They beat a Notre Dame team, which Notre Dame's fine. They're pretty good, but I don't think they're, you're not, telling your grandchildren about the time you beat Notre Dame in 2023.
Right.
So I think Louisville's good. I think Louisville's a good team that has their act together, but I don't think they're automatic. The thing is, though, situationally, I still like them. I still like them because of, and there's a lot to like about this Miami defense, especially Ruben Bain, but I still like them because this late in the year, I'm going to favor a team who has more to play for, has more momentum, and is less of a mess. And so that just favors Louisville right now, right?
Yeah. Here's an interesting nugget that I found. If you look at Miami's offensive and defensive projections, there are 4 games this season when both sides of the ball underperformed in the same game. They were Bethune-Cookman, which was a week after Texas A&M. They were Georgia Tech, which was a week before their run of playing North Carolina and Clemson. Virginia, which was the game after Clemson. And then NC State, which was the game before Florida State. So on this show, we often talk about letdowns and look-aheads. And look, there's not a whole lot of empirical evidence to support that actually being a real thing. I get it.
Right.
But Miami is carrying the torch for it right now. Miami is the living, breathing embodiment of letdowns and look-aheads, if that is something you are into on the college football front. It just seems like they get up for some games and then they really don't for others. And I just wonder if they care about this one. They played Florida State a week ago. That game is always going to be bigger than this. It just is. So I am not at all confident in this result. I agree with you. Miami plays good enough defense, and Jack Plummer definitely, we talk about TVD throwing picks. Jack Plummer's definitely got a pick or two in him in this game. I did the Louisville deep dive last week, which you can find out on Patreon. They've got a good running game because of Jawar Jordan, but not because of the line. They like to play a lot of zone coverage in this game, or just this season. They like to play a lot of zone coverage in this game. I think that benefits them because TVD has struggled with that so far this season. I'm picking Louisville because I don't know why you'd pick Miami at this point. Just based on everything that we know, I don't know why you would pick the Canes.
I mean, I guess their pass rush, right, is when you have a pass rush, it can cover for a lot, and Miami does a great job getting after the quarterback. But otherwise, no, there's not a lot there. Louisville's a better coach team in a place that's not terribly difficult to play. So I don't love Louisville's offensive line. They give up a lot of pressure. They give up a lot of sacks. They haven't been protecting Jack Plummer super well this year. So if that's a matchup that you like at home for Miami, I understand the Miami pick. How many points you need to score to beat Louisville? 24, 28, 31, something like that?
What's your final score prediction?
What's the spread?
Spread right now is Louisville -1.
Right. It's a weird number, right? That Louisville's performed better, but Vegas is not a big believer in them against a flawed Miami team. I have Louisville winning by 4, 28-24.
I got it 31-17.
Okay.
So we agree, sort of.
But by the way, I've said this a lot, and I love repeating myself because who doesn't love repeating themselves? I think winning's a skill that Miami just doesn't have.
Okay. Second big dog, Dan. By some measure, I think this is probably the biggest game of the weekend. 3:30 CBS. It's Georgia -10.5 on the road at Tennessee.
Man, I think it's Oregon State, Washington, but agree to disagree.
By some measures, depending where you live, this game might be a little bit more significant to you, certainly if you're in the Southeast. I had difficulty taking this game seriously.
Okay.
I looked at this and I said, just give me Georgia. Like, what am I even doing here? What am I doing here even thinking that Tennessee can win this game? Because Tennessee's offense is built around the run, and they couldn't run it against Mizzou. Joe Milton's got a big arm, but their passing game has no big plays. If your mantra this season has been that taking care of business is overrated, I think mine is that teams don't suddenly become something else in November.
Taking care of business is underrated. Yeah.
Underrated, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I get that upsets happen. We're 10 weeks, 11 weeks in at this point. Like, you are what you are. And I'm looking at Tennessee, and it's like, I wanted so much more from this team this season. And it feels like they have fallen well short of that. They're a 4-loss team. And looking at this matchup in particular against Georgia, with the way that Georgia seems to be trending in the right direction, I have a hard time taking Tennessee's chances seriously.
Same. I mean, maybe a letdown spot for Georgia after that huge win, but it doesn't feel like Georgia is built to let down like that unless they're playing a legitimately very good team. And with the mistakes that Tennessee made last week against Mizzou, it just feels like an especially nice matchup for Georgia. Even on the road, right? They took care of business last year against a much better Tennessee offense with Hendon Hooker, and that was at home. Yep. But I don't know. I feel as if this might be a really nice moment for Dejon Edwards and Kendall Milton on the ground, especially, Brock Bowers getting healthier and healthier after coming back last week. Ladd McConkey once again stepping up. Dominic Lovett stepping up once again into the role of a number 2 receiver that, I don't know, that I think will give Tennessee trouble. And Joe Milton throwing into this defense, that's been one of the more disappointing things this year. Joe Milton's arm. He had the one nice throw last week to Dante Thornton before Thornton got hurt. But I don't know. Nobody is what they are at their worst, which you could argue that might have been for Tennessee last week against one of the better teams that play this year. But if we're going to assume Tennessee is better than what they showed last week, it's still pretty short of where Georgia is, like the above average version of Georgia. So I'm going to say Georgia wins this game going away. I don't know, 31-13.
Yeah, I'm skeptical Tennessee can stay within 2 scores of Georgia. There is nothing in the numbers that suggests that the Vols have a big matchup they can exploit.
And you don't even need the numbers. You could just watch Tennessee play football.
Just watch the games.
Yeah.
Just watch the games. So, I mean, I would argue that Tennessee's been more underwhelming when you watch the games than if you look at the spreadsheets. I haven't come away all that impressed by watching Tennessee football this year. Now, if they can do better than 3.6 yards per carry against Georgia, as they did a week ago against Mizzou, if they can beat that, then maybe they can move the ball a little bit. But my sense is even if they do better on the ground, they still don't really have an answer for Carson back. And Georgia is just trending in the right direction. That's right. The big thing. It's not even a Tennessee thing. It's a Georgia thing. It's 41-20 Georgia. 41-20.
Okay.
Georgia goes on the road in Neyland. They win. They cover.
So here's my question, though, because this is also a week, even though it is Santana Saturday, it is also a de facto Super Bowl week, right?
It is.
So you have Tennessee at home hosting, and it's their, penultimate home game, but it's their final game against a very big team, or a big team in the SEC of the season at home, because they close, obviously, with Vandy next week, that there could be just an extra spoonful, an extra helping of emotion in this one. Do you put any credence into that this is like the last big moment that Tennessee sees of the year, and that they're just on top of everybody giving Georgia everything that they have in an extra way?
I don't.
It's that de facto Super Bowl. Okay.
I don't. No, I do. And I subscribe to that.
I know.
I don't see it. Georgia tends to get up for these big games. We've seen it time and again so far this season. And you go on the road to Neyland. That's a tough place to play. I'll give you that, but I just don't see it. I don't know how Tennessee keeps this one close. They may very well do it. I've of course picked Georgia now, which means Tennessee will find a way to keep it close. But
yeah, Georgia a little bit beat up on defense as they get healthier on offense. But okay, that's the case. That's the case for a close matchup. But Joe Milton winning this game is not anything and feel free to replay this clip afterwards. It's not anything I see in the cards at this moment.
Let's move on to another big dog, Dan.
Please.
They call this one the Sunflower Showdown.
Mm-hmm.
This year, it's between 2 7-3 teams. You don't have to throw the records out. I'm not going to play it because they cancel out. Both the same record. Kansas State -8 on the road at Kansas. Kansas State has won the last 14 meetings of this game. You got to go back to the Mark Mangino era.
Yeah.
To find the last time that the Jayhawks actually won this game. The concern here, I think, is fairly obvious. Lance Leipold, I believe, is currently listing his quarterback situation as Jason Bean or Cole Ballard or Jalen Daniels.
Yeah. I saw, optimistic that Jason
Optimistic.
Bean. Optimistic.
Optimistic that Jason Bean's going to play. He did get hurt last week.
Yeah.
Did not practice earlier in the week. I hope he plays because the Cole Ballard offense left a little bit to be desired.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest with you, because of that uncertainty at time of recording, I'm on K-State.
As am I. At home against a tenuous quarterback situation. Yeah.
If Jason Bean plays, I'm willing to have a separate conversation. Maybe the line comes down a little bit. Maybe you really jump on K-State if you like the Wildcats, but I just think they're better. I think they should have beaten Texas. This has the hallmark to me of a game where K-State runs them to death with DJ Giddens and Treshaun Ward and even Will Howard. And I just feel like K-State's a better team here.
Yeah, I think Kansas State's going to win by 4 touchdowns. Lock of the week,
Four
actually.
touchdowns?
Yeah, absolutely.
Lock of the week.
Wow.
Yeah.
My man.
Yeah.
4 touchdowns is a lot. This is an offense that can score.
With Cole Ballard?
Maybe not with Cole Ballard. No.
Or a wounded Jason Bean? I don't
Maybe
know.
not with a wounded Jason Bean.
I think at this point in the season is when, obviously, November is where depth comes into play. And I think Kansas State is rounding into really impressive form as Kansas is sort of licking its wounds, still building up depth, still way ahead of where they were when Lance Leipold took over. But I don't know. You mix in a suspect defense with a wounded quarterback against a Kansas State team that appears to be growing into its final version or has grown into its final version. Yeah, I like Kansas State big.
The game is in Lawrence, Dan.
Yeah.
It is in Lawrence. Does that give you any cause for pause or favorite pet charity?
It is in Lawrence. Why am I'm all over the place with my graphics on the live stream. No, it doesn't change anything for me. I'm standing behind it. I'm speaking with my chest. I'm speaking with conviction. Kansas State by 4 touchdowns.
4 touchdowns is a lot.
40.
Now,
what's 44 minus 28? 44 to 16?
28 points, yeah.
Yeah, 44-16. There's my 5.
Are you confident enough in this pick for me to include it as one of my picks at the end?
No, because then your association with this pick completely saturates it with poison, Ty. No, absolutely not. Stay away.
All right. I can't make any promises.
All right.
But I think we agree.
Okay.
We agree. Let's go to another big dog if we can. One more. The level of disrespect from Oregon royalty Dan Rubenstein as we do this live show, and I look at our graphic.
Yeah.
And in place of the Oregon State logo, another team that was cast aside like trash as all the other big dogs, I'll play it again, went to bigger and better conferences and left the little old Pac-2 behind.
2-pack.
2-pack, thank you. That's good.
Yeah.
You swapped out the Oregon State logo for the Wazoo logo. Now, Washington plays Wazoo next week in the Apple Cup.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that matchup. Certainly a lot on the line. But in this matchup, it is 7:30. It is ABC. It is Washington on the road at Oregon State.
Yeah.
Oregon State is a 2.5 point home favorite. This is a very trendy pick, Dan.
It is.
Explain to me why this is so trendy and why I should even consider Oregon State here against a top, 5 Washington team.
What's the case for picking Oregon State here at home?
Yeah.
The home road splits for Oregon State are great, right? Beating Utah the way that they did, and they held them to 7 points. I think that was a Nate Johnson-led Utah team, not a Bryson Barnes for the entire game type Utah team. They were very good against UCLA at home, a very good UCLA defense, and that was still a Dante Moore UCLA team. I think he threw 3 picks in that game, so it was a tough outing for the UCLA offense. And Oregon State runs the ball super well. When you're able to run the ball, you can control it. You'll have a home field advantage. This is the last game in Corvallis as a Pac-12 team, right? So it will be an especially frenzied atmosphere. You look at Washington and you can say, man, they have the single best thing by far in this game, which is their offense, their passing attack, and their ability to explode, their ability to survive these past few weeks in a lot of one-score games or a lot of close one-score games late. And that Oregon State is is built to compete against a team like this. A disappointing Washington defense trying to get off the field against an offense that stays on the field in Oregon State. And so I think those factors, a well-coached team, a more seasoned coach at this level in Jonathan Smith, I think that's the case for the Beavs, that you're riding emotion, an offensive line, an ability to control the clock, especially with new rules, and coming in with some momentum after absolutely destroying Stanford, turning Stanford over a bunch. Michael Penix hasn't been super clean this year. That's the case. That's the case.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, I get that people are making this pick. When we made the document, it was Oregon State minus a half point. It has since gone up to 2.5 points. You're right. It's a well-coached Oregon State team.
Yeah.
And this game's in Corvallis. There are other, I think, intangible factors with the whole Pac-12, Pac-2 situation that probably plays a little bit into this. But what I have not really heard is why they're better than Washington. Why are they better? Somebody tell me why they are better. Why are they better? We already know that the Husky defense is going to give up some points.
Mm-hmm.
That's established at this point. So Damian Martinez, DJU, all the name brand players for Oregon State, they're almost certainly going to have some level of success here. The central problem is this. It's not whether Oregon State can move the football. It's whether they can stop Michael Penix. Can they stop him? Do they have the corners to stop Michael Penix and Rome Odunze and Jalen Polk? I don't think they do. And that is the issue that I have with this pick.
Okay.
So I get why people want to make it. And I get that we're through like 11 weeks of the season now. We're into week 12. Everybody is rooting for chaos, myself included. Haven't really seen it. Maybe we'll get it this week. Maybe we'll get it next week. Maybe we'll get it in conference championship weeks. A few more bites at the apple. I don't see it here. It's like sometimes your offense is just good enough. That was TCU's deal a year ago. Remember, we were having the same conversations about them a year ago.
Yeah.
Like, well, at some point, the defense is the offense kept making big plays. They kept coming through. And the defense was good enough to get them into the national championship game. They made plays when they had to in moments. So I'm not buying it. And I could be wrong. These could be famous last words. I've got Washington 38-29.
Okay, so here's the final element of this, which we haven't really discussed. I discussed positive things about Oregon State. You talked about positive things about Washington. The number of times, if you simulated this season 100 times, the number of times that Washington is going, we presume if they win this game, 12-0,
yeah,
with the 127th ranked rushing defense, with essentially no pass rush, and especially against a good offensive line. They're 131st in sacks per dropback, 92nd in pressure rate. They don't tackle especially well. They're not good in the red zone, so their success rate inside the 10 on defense is 130th. Their third and long percentage, forcing third and longs, they force it 39% of the time. That's not a lot at all. So it's how many times can a subpar defense go undefeated if a season is simulated 100 times?
Right.
With this exact offense, with the exact same offensive performance. That's the problem. And you're playing against a team that routinely beats flawed teams, especially at home.
It is a different team in Corvallis. I will give you that. So I hear what you're saying. I just don't see it. I don't get it.
Okay.
I understand rooting for the chaos.
Yeah.
I understand rooting for the intangibles because of the whole Pac-12 thing. I do not get why you would pick Oregon State here.
I mean, they're a good team playing at home,
favored.
where they're better.
They're favored.
It's a good team at home. And look, they're the fake field goal call away from potentially being at least tied at the end of that game against Arizona, perhaps being 9-1.
Man, you want to talk about chaos. What was that?
That was a terrible. In retrospect, even worse. In retrospect, even worse in Oregon State's final season in the conference. May I make my pick?
You can make your pick.
I'm going Washington.
Thank you.
I'm going Washington.
Thank you.
You just asked me to outline the case, and I think the case is a sound one. I'm going Washington because I went back and forth. I had what I just outlined with Oregon State in my head, and then I have everything I've seen of Washington firsthand. I'm going to go with the quarterback. When I go back and forth, I'm going to go with the quarterback. And was texting with our friend Jeff about this, and the way that Washington, even when they don't play well, just the universe is sprinkling in some moments, right? The pick six that he drops, and then they still get a safety out of. Like, nothing they seem kind of Teflon-y this year. And so I think the quarterback advantage is the big one here. So I'm going with Michael Penix and the Dogs.
We agree. Did we agree on all 4 of those picks?
All road teams, right? Oh, excuse me. No, Kansas State. Kansas State is on the road.
Kansas State's on the road. We've got Washington. We've got Kansas State. We've got Georgia.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
All right.
One of those teams is going to lose outright. That's just what this means.
Yes.
One of them's going to lose. It's probably going to be Louisville.
Yeah.
But, okay. If you've made it this far, again, verballers.com is where you can go to play in our Run the Board game. We're going to build out our quads here momentarily. If you've made it this far, please make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Please make sure you rate and review if you've already done so. Shall we get to our quad building exercise of the week?
Yes, absolutely.
Think about the heart, the passion, the love, the commitment, and the energy you put into it.
Yeah. By the way, so that's, to be clear, that's Oregon State, Kansas, Tennessee, and what was the final one? Miami is who you want if you are a believer in tide trend fading.
My picks are okay on the whole.
Yeah.
On the whole, they're like 50-ish%.
Okay.
But the ones that I give out as my locks of the week, the ones I feel most confident about,
yeah,
they got
tie versus the world. Yeah.
I mean, they got to be like 30% this year, Dan.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
I'm getting taken to the cleaner on my own betting account.
I love it.
It's not good, but
it's
listen,
humbling, Ty.
You got to put your money where your mouth is. I've been doing that. It has not worked well, but
All right.
see if we can get back on the horse this week. So look, this is the spot where we take a look at each window of games. We tell you the 4 games that we are most interested in. We'll call out some other ones, but the quad in the night window, which I think is the most interesting, is Texas on the road at Iowa State. Texas, a 7.5-point road favorite. It is Florida on the road at Mizzou. Mizzou, a home favorite of 12 points. It is Kentucky, a 2-point road favorite on the road at South Carolina. And it is Syracuse. Syracuse on the road at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, a 6.5-point favorite, Dan. Those are the 4. We can debate whether or not Cuse and Georgia Tech should be in there over, Boise, Utah State, or Nebraska, Wisconsin, or some of the other games in this window. But what say you of those 4 matchups? What sticks out to you as being interesting?
Iowa State, Texas at night in Ames, and Texas almost giving away the TCU matchup last week. Iowa State being pretty inconsistent on offense to me, but still, I think a bit of a surprise this year and how much they seem to have grown. The defense is still there. South Carolina, Kentucky is fascinating to me. 2
points. The point spread is 2 points.
So can we start there real quick?
Yeah.
Because I don't know how much I actually have to say about South Carolina, Kentucky, because both of these teams have been, I think, sort of disappointing in their own ways, maybe more so than others. But, I kind of love South Carolina here.
Really?
I do.
Can I maybe help your case a little bit?
Sure.
Lock of the week.
You taking Kentucky?
I'm on Kentucky, man.
Oh, man. Good for you.
I don't get the line. Why would you pick South Carolina?
They're much better at home. What has Kentucky done this year? What has Kentucky done for you lately?
Okay.
How have they earned this? I still think it's difficult to win at South Carolina unless you're a legitimately good team.
Home Rattler is better than Road Rattler.
Yes, he is.
So that is definitely a thing.
What has Kentucky done?
Kentucky has gotten better.
What
throwing the football
have the Kentucky Wildcats done this year?
Dude, they're going to kill South Carolina.
Okay.
They are going to run it up on South Carolina.
This feels like quintessential Shane Beamer. The November vibes are strong.
No.
I'm telling you, Ty.
No. It's
Kentucky?
happening. If it happens, it's next week against Clemson. It's not happening this week against Kentucky. I don't get the line. This is, by you, I think, a huge overreaction to South Carolina scoring 40, whatever they scored against Vanderbilt.
No,
And I'd add Kentucky getting drilled by Bama. This is you overreacting. This is me. I'm not going to play the locks out again, but this is me not buying into that crap, sticking with Kentucky and El Rey and Devin Leary, who seems to throw the ball, and Dane Keys, stop dropping passes. Lock up Kentucky.
Kentucky wasn't even that good at Mississippi State. They're not good away from home, and they're not especially good at home. I'm fully selling on this Kentucky team. I think South Carolina's below average. I don't think they're very good. I don't love that they were dancing after the Jacksonville State win. But I don't. And I understand Shane Beamer's point that, you get excited about a win, and that's fine. But just in terms of my belief in South Carolina, I'm out on Kentucky. I am fully out on Kentucky on the road, and I don't feel like they've earned this line, so I'm going South Carolina.
What do you think about the Texas-Iowa State game?
I like Iowa State.
I think I do too.
And it's, you know what it is? It's a kickoff time thing to me.
Oh?
Because it's a night game, right?
8 o'clock on Fox. Texas minus 7.5 at Iowa State. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so what do we know about this year's Texas team against decent teams, pretty good teams? Who have they blown out? Who have they, pushed around? Right, if we're talking about Texas in this playoff conversation. Kansas. Okay? So that, to me, they pushed around Baylor early on. So the second half of the year, it's sneaking by Houston when Quinn Ewers gets hurt. It's BYU at home. It's at TCU winning by 3. Maybe that was a look-ahead spot to Iowa State. I don't love teams playing 2 consecutive road games. I don't love teams playing 2 consecutive road games with a healing quarterback. And now losing the star of their offense in Jonathan Brooks to a torn ACL. Yeah. And so I really do like Iowa State against the pass. I like this crowd. There has to be a team every year, to me, for it to fulfill college football destiny, where it's like, I don't know, you just don't go in there and expect to win big. I don't know. And sometimes it's Syracuse. Sometimes it's Iowa State. It was Corvallis way back when with those ranked USC teams, the top 5, top 10 USC teams. I think there are just locations in college football that you should be more scared of than usual. Can Texas win this game as a 7.5-point favorite? Absolutely. Can they cover it? Yeah, I think there's a world in which they do. But because of the specifics of it being a night game, giving these fans all day to drink and get riled up, it doesn't feel like a real college football season unless a contender goes down at one of those places. You remember way back when with Oklahoma State in Ames?
I do.
There is something in the universe about these locations that gives me the heebie-jeebies, Ty. So I'm going Iowa State to win this game 23-20.
Do they get rip-roaring drunk in Ames?
I mean, I assume so. Where do they not get rip-roaring drunk in the Midwest, Ty? It's getting cold out, Ty. You got to do something to stay warm.
College football game in November. Yeah, you got to warm the cockles of your college football heart. Look, home dog of the week.
Yeah, of course.
The Yakos, home dog of the week.
We called this game out on our Iceberg episode. We called this game out back in July.
Yeah.
We called this game out months upon months ago as potentially the fly in the ointment for a good Texas season. Like you said, they're without Jonathan Brooks. Sucks that he tore his ACL. Don't know if that's going to have any impact on the offense. They've got boatloads of talent. They'll still find a way to run the ball, I'm sure. But you want to talk about de facto national championship games. This is a de facto national championship. Farmageddon on deck, granted.
Yeah.
But this game is Iowa State's chance to play spoiler as Texas exits the conference after the 23 season. I think there is also a good chance that Iowa State wins this game outright.
Okay.
So I am with you on that. I 24-21.
You think Texas sneaks by?
No, I think Iowa State wins.
So, okay, so don't just say I think there's a universe in what your pick is Iowa State to win.
My pick is Iowa State 24-21. It is also the Jake Locker pick of the week.
Yeah.
Last week hit on the bet. He's 1-0-1 since I've started giving these out, and he's all in on Iowa State as well. So I don't know if it makes anybody feel better or worse that I, too, am in on Iowa State, but let's go 3 Dragons on Iowa State.
3 Dragons on Iowa State. By the way, if there's a specific matchup to watch in this game, it's Texas being especially shaky on third down and in the red zone. They get a great amount of explosion plays, but if Iowa State makes them nickel and dime them down the field, all that much more of an advantage for Iowa State, who themselves are pretty good in the red zone and very good on third downs and getting off the field. So that's an interesting moment in this game, an interesting matchup with Quinn Ewers, hopefully back to full health, but we'll see.
The other two games, I'll just call these out quickly.
Please.
The Florida-Mizzou game, Florida's defense is bad again, Dan. Last 4 games, they've given up 39, 43, 39, and 52 points.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3 Cancun. Yeah.
You think they're done?
Yeah, I think Florida's done so, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming from you.
I think Cody Schrader might run for 244 yards. I'm not kidding. That's my number. My over-under is 243.5. You decide which side you want.
Florida needs a win to get bowl eligible.
Does Florida have the worst rush defense in America right now?
I mean, it might be. It's pretty bad.
Florida's rush defense, I can pull up the numbers, but like what they've shown recently has been ugly. Florida's rush defense right now is they're the worst team in terms of giving up big plays, and now they face Cody Schrader. Their actual rush defense, their pass defense is bad. So excuse me, I got it mixed up. Luther Burden might go bonkers.
Luther Burden, 243. No, look.
They both might. I think we will have a dude in this game for Mizzou.
We'll have a dude. Well, They're 5-5. They've got Mizzou and Florida State to close out the season. They're not going to fire Billy Napier because he's got a huge buyout and because they got a great recruiting class line.
Buddy,
but
I might take a second look at that recruiting class because it is falling apart.
It's getting late early for Billy Napier. And so I just feel like I don't think they're 1, 2, 3 Cancun. I don't think they're pack it up, pack it in. I've got some other teams that are pack it up, pack it in that we'll talk about. But I don't see them beating Mizzou here. I think Mizzou is going to run all over them.
Yeah.
So I'm with you, Mizzou.
And who does Mizzou finish with? Arkansas?
Yeah.
So it's not a look-ahead moment for Mizzou. Yeah.
No. All right. And I am also going to go with – I think I'm going to go with Cuse in the points here. It's interesting that the Georgia Tech situation is interesting because it's got to be this week if they want to get to win number 6. Next week, they've got Georgia. They're not going to beat Georgia.
Right.
This week, they've got Cuse. Obviously, they can beat Syracuse. Syracuse doesn't need this win to get bowl eligible. Next week, they've got Wake Forest at home. So they've got 2 cracks at it here. Whereas for Georgia Tech, this is like, it has to be this.
It's their moment.
Yeah. I'm on Cuse with the points because Tech's run defense is atrocious. And if Cuse decides they want to go full service academy again and run like 70 times, it's a slower game that finishes within that 6.5 number. So give me Cuse plus the points.
I'm taking Georgia Tech at home. They've been a good team at home.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Some other games in this window. I'll read these off very quickly. Give me a pick. Nebraska at Wisconsin. Wisconsin favored by 4.5.
Why? Nebraska.
I'm with Nebraska.
Yeah.
7 p.m. Boise State -3 at Utah State.
Give me Boise State here. A nice bounce back post Avalos win.
I'm going to go Utah State plus points. Got Georgia State at LSU. LSU favored by 31. I'm just going to go LSU. Georgia State's been giving up a lot of points.
Yeah.
And FIU at Arkansas. Arkansas also a 31-point favorite.
I guess Arkansas, but I don't love it.
Okay. Let's move on to a different window if you're okay with that.
Welcome to the pain zones where we live.
Yeah.
The afternoon block is the pain zone, Dan.
You were telling me. Yeah, continue.
I don't even
Sorry,
know where you're gonna go with
before
that.
we went on the air, but you just mentioned pain zone, but it's fine. Continue.
The 4 games that we picked in this quad, that's how it works. We've got UCLA, USC, Utah, Arizona, North Carolina at Clemson, UNLV at Air Force.
Love this window.
This window has a ton of games. It's also Oregon, ASU, Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, Ohio State, Oklahoma State, Houston. I'm not going to list all these games. Maybe we can call out the ones that we like.
But let's get to the quad.
UCLA, USC has the undercurrent of some very interesting storylines. There is a popular report circulating the interweb from BruinReport.com that Chip Kelly's going to get fired after this game.
Likely. UCLA is likely going to part ways with Chip Kelly. Yeah. At the time of this recording, there's nothing official.
Nothing official. You were like 5 years ahead of this one.
Yeah, of course.
You thought Chip wasn't going to be long for Westwood a while back now. Why is now the time to do this?
I guess relatively speaking, whatever it is, 6 years is pretty long. Why? Because they're entering into what will be a deeper and more difficult conference, and the roster isn't anywhere near where it needs to be to compete for 9 or 10 games, which is the next step for UCLA. And, we've talked about this before. I think the portal is a really nice way to plug holes and build a little bit of depth. But if you count on that for starters in a lot of places and you're not recruiting on a big level out of high school, you're not long for a job. And I feel the same way about Colorado. Like, I just don't think you can shortcut your way to success. I feel the same way about USC. You can't take a shortcut to a good defense. And UCLA was able to plug in guys nicely through the portal on defense. They've recruited okay on defense, developed guys, and the pass rush has been especially good. And the hire of Danton Lynn was especially good, at least the first half of the year. But over the course of a season, over the course of the next 2-3 years, if you're at a big place and you are not building a recruiting machine, it's the beginning of the end. And UCLA just doesn't have the roster, to me, to compete moving forward. And in this game specifically, as much as I don't like USC and where they're at right now, they have Caleb Williams, and UCLA has a beat-up quarterback room. So I like USC here.
I have the exact same thing written down. And it is a vote of confidence in Caleb Williams, who has been balling out this year, despite the fact that his defense has done him no favors.
It's probably his last game in a Trojan uniform.
Yeah. Probably
right?
his
I mean,
last
it's on
game in a Trojan
ABC
uniform.
at 3:30, right? It's, it's a primetime game. So, if USC is going to end up in, I have no idea what bowl game, the Holiday Bowl, the Alamo Bowl, like, he's not going to play in that.
Miller Moss watch, baby.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I'm on USC minus whatever. It's at 7 right now. It's gone up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the move. Go USC. I am on Utah +1 at Arizona. And I like Arizona. Arizona's a great story. If that UCLA job comes open, wouldn't surprise me if Jed Fish got a look.
Yeah, Jed Fish, Jonathan Smith. Yep.
But this is a bridge too far for me. I think Utah, their physicality ends up being too much for Arizona. So I'm going Utah outright.
I mean, has Utah lost to every decent team they've played this year?
Nah, come on.
It depends on what you think about UCLA. And in that game, they scored one offensive touchdown, right?
Right.
So they lose to Oregon. They lose to Washington. They lose to Oregon State. They beat USC. They did beat USC. So I don't know if USC is a pretty good team, but that's something. I don't think Utah on the road, second consecutive week. Arizona's much better at home. The desert's a weird place to play. What time is this game?
This game is at
the afternoon, right?
2:30 Eastern time, yeah.
Yeah, I like Arizona. I think winning is a skill that Arizona has, so I'm going with the Cats here.
We disagree. 3:30 North Carolina at Clemson. Clemson favored by a touchdown. I have no idea who to pick in this game. I don't know which team we are going to get.
Well, the people are counting on you, Ty.
No, they're not.
To pick
no,
against
they're not.
Whatever you're.
I'm not counting on me for this.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I can't sit here and tell you with any degree of confidence on this day, Wednesday, November the 15th, as we record midday. I don't know which North Carolina team's going to show up. I don't know which Clemson team's going to show up. It feels like it changes from week to week.
Sure.
I have no idea. Do you have an idea?
Yeah, I think North Carolina at least covers the spread. This has all the trappings of a 31-28 game. And so I'm taking North Carolina. It has the trappings of it because I think North Carolina is never out of a game because of Drake May. We saw them go down to Miami and finish strong. I don't know if Clemson's going to have that killer instinct 2 weeks in a row like they did against Georgia Tech. So, yeah, I see this as back and forth and fascinating. Drake May throwing into the Clemson defense. Yeah, I'm going to take the points in what I think is going to be a very close, weird game.
I will take the points as well because I have no idea. Honestly, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And the final game that we listed in this quad, 3:30 CBS Sports Network, maybe the biggest G5 game of the year.
Wow.
UNLV at Air Force. Air Force favored by 3 points. I don't know what's going on with Air Force. They've had 2 bad losses in a row. And I'm inclined to go UNLV plus the number.
Okay. The reason that I am not going UNLV plus the number is here are the following defenses that UNLV has played. They've played number 129, number 93, number 126, number 128, number 108, number 132, and number 85. The story this year with Jaden, I think it's Mayava, I hope I got it right, is terrific. Younger quarterback, Barry Odom, like they've won games against flawed teams. Air Force, I don't know what's going on with them, especially early on in games. I think at home, at altitude, I'm still going to be a believer. UNLV also does not play the run all that well, so I'm going Air Force here.
Give me the Rebs, man. Give me the Rebs. All right, some other games here in this window very quickly. Oregon at ASU. Oregon's favored by about 24 points.
Yeah.
Is there any reason not to go Oregon here?
ASU's defense is okay, and it's a huge letdown look-ahead spot after what Oregon did to USC and has next week in Oregon State. You're always fearful as an Oregon fan of traveling to the desert, even with an ASU team that is a shell of itself, a shell of what it will be eventually on offense, I think. So, no, my head says Oregon, or my heart says, I don't know. My head and heart both say take the points in this one, but I can't really justify it out loud, so I'm going to say Oregon and give the points because I think they're extraordinarily better and they can score easily.
I'll take the points in the 3:30 FS1 game. Illinois plus 3.5 at Iowa.
It's a Luke Altmaier game. It's not a John Paddock game, Ty. I don't know if that changes anything.
I'm just taking points in the Big Ten West. I'll come back to that mindset in a little bit, but just give me points in the Big Ten West at this point.
Iowa, though?
What's Iowa?
I mean, they won 22-0 in the Big Ten. It wasn't the West because it was Rutgers, but
against Rutgers. Come on.
Yeah, I'm taking Iowa minus 3.5
Give me Illinois.
here.
Illinois outright.
So you're taking an interception-prone quarterback playing on the road against a team that does nothing but force interceptions.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. It's exactly right.
Just verifying.
I want those points. Minnesota at Ohio State. Ohio State favored by 27.5. We've also got a few other interesting matchups in this block. We got Oklahoma State -7 at Houston. Cincy on the road at West Virginia. West Virginia favored by about a touchdown. UCF at Texas Tech -3. I love Texas Tech in that spot. Baylor at TCU. No idea where I'm at with that one. NC State at Virginia Tech. I love Virginia Tech. Wake Forest at Notre Dame. The Sam Hartman Bowl. 24.5 seems like a lot, even though Wake Forest is kind of bad.
Oh, this feels like a game Notre Dame will win by 35. Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
And Duke at Virginia. Duke favored by 4 at Virginia. Almost inclined to go Virginia.
So I think I like Duke there. I think the defense is good enough to win this game ugly, and it's the CW, right? So you always have to pick something weird in that game.
That's why I'm going Virginia.
Okay,
plus
fair enough.
Points.
I like Notre Dame big. I like Virginia Tech comfortably against
So do
NC
I.
State. You get the weird MJ Morris redshirting situation. TCU large against Baylor, even though I don't love either one of these teams. Baylor is fading in a big way on defense to me. Texas Tech, I agree with you. I think I go West Virginia as well, though I like the fight recently from Cincinnati. Houston as a road dog in what should be, I think, a bit of a shootout here, so I take the points in the shootout, especially with the home dog. Ohio State big I'm going to take against Minnesota, and I already mentioned Iowa and Oregon.
I'm inclined to go Minnesota plus points in that Ohio State game.
In a look-ahead spot?
I wonder if there's a little bit of a look ahead for Ohio State, yeah.
No, I think there's continued, especially after the work they did against Michigan State. I think Ohio State really needs to get loose, right? I think they really need to figure out how to consistently get going on offense and not just targeting Marvin Harrison Jr. So I think they're going to really go for it here ahead of the Michigan game.
Let's go to our final quad.
You have to
Didn't
achieve
Purdue just drop
failure.
50
You have to take it
on
that
Minnesota?
far. Nobody wants to go that far. It's too scary. But you know something? I got news for you. That's where winning is.
How dare you interrupt
I know, the quad
father
father
with your heresy?
Didn't Heisman Card just emerge against the Minnesota defense last week for Purdue?
How dare you?
Okay, just making sure.
How dare you, Dan?
Okay,
Besmirched the name. The early window kind of sucks. I'm not going to lie to you.
that's okay.
It's okay. It's fine. We found 4 really good games. We found Oklahoma at BYU. Okay, maybe it's not that good of a game, but Oklahoma favored by 24.5. We've got Michigan -19 on the road at Maryland. We've got Rutgers at Penn State. Penn State favored by 20.5 points. And we've got another big G5 game. We've got at 2 p.m. on ESPN Plus, App State at James Madison. James Madison favored by 9 now. That line's come down a little bit. It was 10.5, come all the way down to 9. Why don't we start there?
Okay.
I did the deep dive out on Patreon about James Madison. And I feel like I learned a lot in that process. What's interesting about this matchup, though, aside from it being 2 prominent G5 schools, it is strength on strength. Because you've got 2 teams with solid passing offenses and solid passing defenses. Neither team is that great at running the ball or stopping the run. So maybe that's your key. I don't know. Maybe it's whoever can run the ball and control the clock. They're the they're the team that ends up winning this game. App State's won 3 in a row after back-to-back losses back at the start of October. James Madison, obviously 10-0. Kicked the crap out of UConn last week.
Yep.
I think the fact that this line has come down is a good indication of how you should bet this game. So it started 10.5 when I made the doc. It's at 10.5 right now on our Run the Board game. On Run the Board, I am on App State plus 10.5. If I were actually betting, I'd be on James Madison minus the 9. This to me feels like a 10-point game. It feels like it is right kind of in that gray area between those two bets. So if I'm betting here, actual money, minus the 9, I go James Madison. But in our game, which you get an extra 1.5 on the board, go to verballers.com. App State plus the 10.5 for me there.
I'm not a believer in App State's schedule right now. Again, you look at the defenses that they've played. It's a lot of sub-90 defenses lately in the back half of the year. So I'm taking JMU here. I think the taking care of business being underrated element really applies to the Dukes. So give me James Madison.
Stand by what I said a week ago that BYU is bad. Capital B, bad.
Yeah.
24.5 is a lot of points for Oklahoma to cover, especially on the road. But I think BYU's...
They're not a good road team this year. They haven't been especially strong on the road.
They're not a good road team, but I think BYU might be in pack it up, pack it in territory.
Yep.
So I'm on Oklahoma minus the number.
I am too, because I just couldn't make the case. I couldn't make the case for BYU competing in this game with an offense as bad as they've been.
We've got Michigan minus 19. I believe there is a court hearing on Friday, the 17th, that will determine whether or not Jim Harbaugh can coach from the sidelines here. Does it matter to you one way or the other?
Well, look, you look at all of the adversity that Michigan has had to overcome, which wasn't at all self-inflicted, Ty.
Did you see that press conference?
It's the best.
Some of the quotes that Jim Harbaugh gave us in that press conference will live, should probably live in our intro starting next season. Truly amazing.
I think we should do a bake sale to benefit Michigan football, right? We all have to do our part, Ty. And so even if it's just raising a little bit of money and awareness about what the poor Michigan Wolverines are going through, maybe like a walkathon. We got to do something, Ty. Maybe a blood drive. It's our part as a society that we can play to help out with Michigan and all that they've been through. I'm going to go Maryland here. Outright now. I'm going to go Maryland here. This has all the trappings. Look, if Jim Harbaugh's not on the field, I feel especially good about Maryland getting just a ridiculous backdoor cover. Being down 28-6 with 3 minutes left against the Michigan Threes and scoring a touchdown and losing this game, 28-13. So I'm going to go Maryland plus the points here in a letdown look-ahead spot, because even though you claim there are no numbers that justify the letdown look-ahead spot as an actual mathematical reality, I feel it in my bones, Ty. I feel the letdown look-ahead sandwich here, and I don't love Maryland. I don't love back half Maryland. I don't like anything really about Maryland, but there is the drainage from overcoming as much adversity as Michigan was able to overcome last week. Again, MichiganBakeSale.org.
So you're going Maryland because of a Michigan drainage situation.
Yeah, I think they're going to be emotionally spent. I think they're going to, I think it's going to be 28-6. They're going to call off the Dogs, and they want to be healthy for next week. So yes, I think I see a backdoor cover here, 28-13.
Maryland's not good. They're not good outside the month of September. They never are.
Yeah.
And even if Michigan is looking ahead to Ohio State, I think they're in a look-ahead proof environment right now, given everything else going on.
Okay.
I think all of that is like superseded by the fact that people have called into question the validity of this season.
Sure.
And if anything is bulletin board material, it's that. It's that. They're not looking past anybody.
Oh, I don't think they're looking past Maryland.
They're not looking past Maryland. Even if they are emotionally drained, they will be emotionally charged on game day. So I'm on Michigan minus whatever here.
Okay. We disagree.
And I'm on Penn State minus whatever, too, against Rutgers, by the way, because Penn State fired Mike Yurcich. I think the natural inclination is, and I've seen this point spread go down a little bit. It was 21. It's come down a half a point to 20.5 at time of recording. I understand why you'd want to go Rutgers after the coaching change.
Yeah.
I don't see it that way. I could see them having a better offensive showing without Yurcich. So I'm on Penn State minus the number.
As am I. This feels like a game that they win by. I think they won it by how many points last year? What was the final score of last year's game?
I don't even have it in front of me, but yeah, I'm with
it. It was 5-6 touchdowns worth. Yeah.
Some other games in this window very quickly. We have Tulane minus 9.5 at FAU. Man, the last month of our lives has been Tulane in just a weekly nail biter.
Yes.
So give me whatever.
So give you whatever.
give me FAU plus 9.5 is what I'm saying.
Okay. I don't feel strongly about this game. Next.
Michigan State at Indiana. Michigan State, pack it up, pack it in.
Yeah.
Indiana minus whatever. And also Purdue minus 3 at Northwestern. This is interesting because when I made the doc, Northwestern was favored by 1.5 points.
Mm-hmm.
The line's now shifted to Purdue minus 3.
Hmm.
I will tell the people this, out of the goodness of my heart. I shifted this line back in the other direction for our special parlay.
Okay.
I will talk to you a little bit about that in a little bit.
Northwestern's going to lose this game to Purdue. They don't do anything twice in a row all year long.
Snip, snap, right?
They're going to beat Illinois next week and lose to Purdue this week. Yeah.
We've also got Chattanooga at Bama and Louisiana Monroe, 37-point underdog on the road at Ole Miss. There's SMU Memphis in this window. There's Coastal Carolina at Army. Coastal minus 4 at Army in this window. Bet Coastal there, Dan. Just
okay.
Do it sight unseen. I don't know if you've got any other reads on some of the other G5 action taking place.
I don't think so.
All right.
I think those are my picks, Ty, for better or worse. And shout out to the SEC for this real difficult time of scheduling, right? What, A&M's playing Abilene Christian in their first game minus Jimbo?
Yep.
God, what a challenge. What a challenge the SEC puts itself through. What a grind. No, just drop some big, stanky, drenching, nibbling drum and fife for me, if you may.
You got it, Dan Rubenstein. 12 Eastern, ESPN Plus. It is Bucknell on the road at Marist. Who you got?
Well, in a rivalry game like this, I think you got to throw those records out. Give me Bucknell on the road. Give me the Bison.
I'm on Marist here. Georgetown away from home at Holy Cross.
Yeah, Georgetown looking to get bowl eligible here at 5-5, end up with that Alamo Bowl berth. I'm going to go with Georgetown on the road. Nice little bounce back season for the Hoyas.
Give me the Crusaders. Big rivalry. Big rivalry. I talked to Stolid Wife Kate. I said, "You want to go to Lafayette Lehigh?"
It's in your backyard.
Yeah, she's like, "No, I'm not interested." So,
what is it, Cooper Field?
No.
What's the name?
That's Georgetown, man.
Oh, that's what Georgetown calls their. What is the Lehigh Stadium?
Goodman Stadium. How dare you?
Stadium. Excuse
me. How dare you?
Lafayette 55, Lehigh 12.
Lehigh's real bad this year, Dan.
Yeah.
Finally, we've got Fordham at 6-4 on the road at Colgate.
Yeah, give me Fordham big here. Fordham very big. 42-14 Rams here.
42-14.
Yeah, big numbers.
That's a big guy. Let's put a cap on all the weekly action before we get to bets with a look at your weather forecast for this coming week, shall we?
Let's.
Dan and Ty, we are heading into the week, and I'm telling you, it is Thaw Your Turkey Saturday. It might not rhyme, but you should thaw your turkey. In Big Ten country, all you got to do is put it on the porch because it's perfect. 30s and 40s, a little crisp and chilly for football this weekend. Across the South, it's good to go in the SEC. Warm, 60s, 70s. Same thing for the Big 12. But our region of concern is Southern California. Showers for USC, UCLA. Also, the game, Palo Alto, Stanford, and Cal. Rain, too. Up the coast we go. Another region of concern, the Pacific of Northwest. We could see issues in Corvallis. A little showery with the Huskies coming to town.
Thank you to Tim Buckley.
Like that.
Always does a fabulous job talking us through the weather, Dan. Shall we get to Ty versus the world?
This is crucial.
Ty versus the world.
Die Welt, le monde, el mundo, Sekai,
Świat.
Ty versus the world.
Presented by DraftKings Sportsbook.
Got 4 bets on the card and then a special parlay for all y'all.
All right.
Let's start with Kentucky minus the 2. You hate it. I love it. See what happens.
I like
We shall see what happens. I've got Georgia minus the 10.5. Why
Okay.
overthink it?
Why overthink it?
Why overthink it? Maybe a backdoor cover situation for Tennessee, but otherwise they ain't winning the game. So let's go Georgia minus the number. Let's feel good about it. Let's go Iowa State plus the 7.5. I picked them outright. I would be a hypocrite if I didn't go Iowa State plus the number if I like them outright. I just would. They're getting 7.5 at home at night, big game, de facto national championship. I preach at the altar of the de facto national championship.
I know. So you claim.
I preach at it. Yeah, I do. For the most part. Not all.
Okay.
Only when it suits me. Give me the number. Give me plus 7.5. And I this is a late addition. I'm sorry, Hokie fans. I'm adding Virginia Tech minus 2.5 to the card as well. Just got the vibe going through these picks. I got the vibe of Virginia Tech. I like Virginia Tech in this spot. I really do. They've been playing better. And Kyron Drones has been a bit of a revelation on offense. There's actually been some smoke, perhaps, on Virginia Tech's offensive coordinator being hired by Penn State to run their offense. So they've done a good job on offense lately. Give me the Hokies minus the 2.5. On top of it, I've got something I'm calling the Big Ten Western Omelet.
I like that.
Illinois plus the 3.5. You don't like it. I know you already don't like it.
Continue.
Nebraska plus 4.5.
Okay. I don't hate that.
And I've shifted the Purdue line. I've shifted it from -3 to +3.
Okay. You're teasing it.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Illinois plus the 3.5. Nebraska plus the 4.5. Purdue plus 3. That's your Big Ten Western Omelet. You make the bet, you get it at about 4-1.
Wow. Okay. Good luck with all that. Good luck.
You don't like that.
I don't like Illinois at Iowa
Why don't you like that pick?
because I don't.
Tell
like,
me why you don't like that pick.
I don't like Illinois' offense with Luke Altmaier. I just don't.
Really?
Yeah, Iowa's built to win that game 17-7.
Man, Dan, I don't know.
What's the under in that game? You can
I
never
don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
But I'm sure it's ugly. I don't think it's as bad or as ugly as it's been in the past, but I just feel good about Illinois in that spot.
Okay. Have fun.
You just keep saying okay.
Okay.
I'm trying to get a little bit more disagreement here from you. Tell me why, specifically why, other than I don't like Illinois.
I don't. What more do I need? Iowa is built to win this game. They're built to win an ugly game against a team that has struggled on offense. So
right.
I like Iowa here.
All right, Dan.
That's all. By the way, any reaction to the college football playoff rankings from this week? Any
So what do we
change in
have?
how you view the universe?
We have, Georgia 1. We have
Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Florida State are the top 4. Do you
Right.
think those are the 4 best teams in America when you
I do.
combine what you've seen with your eyes and what the resumes say?
Yeah, I'm okay with
I
it.
don't.
I
I
don't
would
know.
take Alabama against Florida State. I would take Alabama probably against Ohio State or Michigan right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you combine record and resume and eye test, however you want to play the completely subjective element, I would have Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Oregon, Florida State, Texas, Washington.
Okay.
How about that?
Daniel, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now.
Yes.
Now, use the code SOLID. New customers can get $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on basketball. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. With code SOLID, the crown is yours. Again, if you are listening to this, going out to our website, verballers.com, sign up to play Run the Board. You get that $100 credit to Pristine Auction. You, of course, get the Dean Blandino cameo.
Of course.
That remains unclaimed, but won't stay that way for
We'll
another
find
week.
somebody. Yep.
We'll find somebody. Would also encourage you to make sure you hit subscribe and follow if you like the podcast. Reach out on social media. And, of course, if you are listening to this episode and watching games throughout College Football Week 12, give us a holler at 855-VERBAL3. We will play our favorites as part of the reverbs when we record late on Saturday night.
Agree.
Dan Rubenstein, Santana. Santana Saturday. For that guy over there, my good friend Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hill. Now, keep that playing.
You want it again?
My name is Ty Hildebrand. His name is Dan Rubenstein. We'll catch you all in a few days. In the meantime, stay solid.
Peace.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See dkng.co/football for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after